Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fleetway Sonic Experience. And folks, last time around when we covered the comics, we had some interesting things to talk about because we're still in the slow zone with Fleetway Sonic. And while there is nothing really wrong with that in and of itself, and it's not like we thought the quality of the issues or story or art were poor. No, none of that's the case. It's just that I think we were really expecting things to start picking up. And folks, I think this might be the start of it. It's still feeling a little slow, I'm not gonna lie, but I do think we're on the right path here for things to start picking up.
I think what's interesting about Fleetway, especially as we continue to dive into it, is that I am already starting to notice some cracks in the story structure. And this is something I think we're going to talk a little bit about later on. But I just want to come out and say something pretty substantial here. If the impression you got was that I was not interested in Fleetway through the last episode, no, that isn't it. The thing that really was getting to me was that the comic really did not feel like it was going anywhere with its plot, direction. It just felt very standstill. Mind you, I think the Sonic stuff in this set of comics is probably some of the strongest stuff from Fleetway in terms of just overall art, writing, direction. There are a couple of moments that had me go, bro, wait, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, no,
there's one in particular that made me go,
what are they cooking with this one?
No, actually, though, I was pretty bewildered. Not in a bad way, mind you, just in a what the fuck? But it's really the C and D stories where I'm starting to feel, how do I put this? A strain on the comic. That is the best way to put it. We're going to talk about this more when we start getting into the C and D stories. But for now, let's start with the good stuff, which is the Sonic stuff. With issue 45, Our Story, Day of the Death Egg, script by Nigel Kitching, art by Richard Elson.
Cold open at the launch base zone. All systems green, countdown from 10, main thrusters go. We have liftoff. After long hours of labor, it's finally come to fruition. The launch is a success. Grimer, take us down to the surface of Mobius. It's time for the Emerald Hill folk to tremble and quake in fear of my awesome power and unstoppable Death Egg.
I feel like I want to definitely talk for a second about Elson's shot of the Death Egg. Damn, dude.
Very imposing. Very imposing.
I think this is another issue where Elson's artwork is just on point the whole fucking way through. This is some real grade A shit. Goddamn, man, it looks awesome.
Oh, yeah. Now, at Emerald Hill, Sonic and Tails just busting some badniks, usual day. Sonic lures a Rhinobot off a cliff into a spike trap. Not worried as Tails comes in, flies down, and carries Sonic back up until a shadow is cast over them. And of course, Sonic does not like the look of this any one bit. In the village, the people notice the shadow, but they think it's just a solar eclipse, moon blotting out the sun. But then some beams start to glow on the moon. That's not the moon. That's not the moon. The laser fire directly on the village. Robotnik boasting this is a small sample of his power. Bring me Sonic the Hedgehog, or you face the full extent of the destructive Death Egg. And then he and Tails arrives. Sonic saying, hold, that was unnecessary, you maniac. I'm not afraid to face you. And Robotnik didn't think so, but he couldn't resist trying out the death rays. And Tails shows his heroics, trying to fly closer to catch them by surprise, but he's too close to a cannon opening and takes the full brunt of a full blast. Tails is fucking vaporized.
When I read this, I was like, huh?
I was just like, wait, did I see this correctly? Hold on.
Sonic then proceeds to call Robotnik a murderer, saying that Tails was only a kid, and proceeds to try and attack the Death Egg itself, while Robotnik sets his death rays to wide-angle lens to increase the power to maximum, and then uses it to destroy Sonic and the whole of Emerald Hill.
And Sonic and his miserable friends have been taken with it. Sonic eats the laser shot, and even his shoes and gloves melt into the beam. And then we see nothing but darkness. Grimer says it's done. Lights, please. The lights go up, and he and Robotnik see this whole fucking thing was a goddamn simulation. You fucking assholes.
So there's actually an asterisk in the story itself that says, you guessed it, boomers, this whole story never actually took place. You didn't really think we'd let anything happen to poor Tails, did you?
Based.
I will say that this is a pretty funny gotcha moment to be like, yeah, like, we'll kill the characters. Psych. But at the same time, it's like, I guess if you're going to show what the Death Egg can do in theory, it's like, whatever. But yeah, no, it was cute. This is a cute story.
Yeah, no. So Grimer adds now that they have the main thrusters, the Death Egg will be ready for launch. And Robotnik ends it saying, with its power, my rule of this planet will be absolute. Great story. Actually, great story.
Yeah, cute. Like, pretty cute. Funny. So, I guess we can start talking about where the C and D stories start to falter. Let's just go through the story, and then I'm going to start talking about some ideas and thoughts about this. So, go ahead.
Okay, so our next story, Stringer, Corona, and Burns are our creative team. On Emerald Hill. It's a regular day, Sonic's not around, and we see some Mobians about to have basically get into a fight, and they get broken up. It started with this one dude saying, actually, well, I don't know, Robotnik seems like an alright guy, I don't know. But, he gets a feeling that this guy's gonna change his mind soon, as a shuttle flies over the village and brings in some SWAT bots. The bird who is arguing for Robotnik runs towards the SWAT bot saying, no, hey guys, come on, it's cool, I'm a Robotnik guy, it's all good, okay? And then the SWAT bots go, perfect. You will make an excellent badnik then. So he's taken, thrown in, and the squirrel who is willing to fight starts evading the robots, but the rabbit who broke everything up gets captured himself. The squirrel, whose name is just Shorty, at least that's what everyone calls him, he's hiding behind a rock and sees his friends being corralled into the ship, thinking he's got to do something to save them. He climbs up and stows away on the top of the ship as it takes off, as it reports back to Robotnik that the mission was a success, and Robotnik is pleased to have more badniks for his collection. We then see the landing space of that ship. The Mobians are now being sent into the building to be roboticized. Shorty's still thinking that there has to be a way to save everyone. And inside, of course, we see them becoming badniks on the order of Robotnik, as Shorty just goes in guns blazing and grabs the remote in Grimer's hands and destroys the console. But Robotnik himself says, nope, too late, furball. The process here can't be halted. The merry muckers are now badniks. Shorty is now being held by a SWAT bot upside down, swearing he'll get Robotnik for this, but Robotnik's got a different idea. I'm not going to turn you into a standard badnik. No. You are going to be a new super badnik, designed so even Sonic can't defeat it. And then we see him hooked up to the circuitry of what Robotnik calls the Cybernik. You can never be free again. How do you feel about being a slave of destruction for the rest of your life? As we see Shorty being violently shoved into the central hold. And that's the end of this story, for now.
Okay, so I want to ask a question. So I'm going to use Archie as a comparison here. And yes, I am going to use Ken as a comparison. We have talked pretty extensively about how bad some of those B stories are. The one that always comes to mind for me is, of course, Locke the Echidna going up to the Felidae and being like, hey, yo, guys, the racism and colonialism we did was A-OK epic. Because we're echidnas, and that's what echidnas do. And for as awful as that shit was, what did it actually do for the world? Think about it for a second. Think about what I mean by the world. Because even if it's the worst storytelling imaginable, it added to your understanding of what's going on in the world. It added to the history and complexity of the world itself. This is not me praising Ken. This is me praising the fact that B stories and C stories and D stories can be written in a way to enhance your experience within the world. I think this is a problem that Sonic the Comic is having right now, because every comic has to be eight pages.
Main story, the Sonic stories are about 7 pages or so. The backup stories tend to be 4 to 5 pages.
And I want you to think about that. You have 7 to 8 pages to work with to tell a main story, and your backup stories have to be 4 pages. What are we actually learning about the world? What are we gleaning into about Mobius and what's going on there? Not much. And this has sort of been my issue with these B and C stories. Look, the Tails stuff is a little different because that falls more into the realm of like Tails lore and like some interesting stuff. Like the Zone Runner stuff was fine, I guess. And you know, the Tails Knight shit was funny because like, yeah, there's lore there, Tails lore, Lamau, but like all of the other C and D stories have just sort of been people doing things and those things feeling very secondary. It's something where it can't be slotted into the comic naturally. It feels like it's intentionally sectioned off in its own little fuck dimension, you know?
Right. It doesn't feel like there's much going on. Now, granted, with this being said, with this storyline we're going to follow, it actually is going to do something kind of interesting, and we're just going to go along with it as it goes along to it. But yes, you're absolutely right. As far as Archie goes, if you've ever seen Lowert's videos, he's doing a, I guess, comparison series to the Archie Sonic Digest, if you want to think of it like that, as he's going through the comics kind of more beat for beat character-wise. And his central thesis of Archie Sonic is that the world, and I'm not talking about Mobius in particular, I'm talking about the world of Archie Sonic is the main character, is his central thesis. And stories like you mentioned about, you know, Locke and the Feladay, all the backup stories about Knuckles and his bullshit, even the little moments, the rare ones where we get the freedom fighters just doing whatever, even as minute as it is, it adds a little something, a little nugget of complexity to the world of Archie Sonic. Here, these are just fun stories at worst, which isn't bad. That's not, we're not trying to say it's bad. It's not.
It's not. It's just, when we think about this comic, considering what's been told and said about it, we kind of expected something more interlocking, introspective, which is why it's hard sometimes to talk about these comics in greater detail. Look, we can sit here and say the art looks great, you know, the writing is British, and things about it are good and interesting, but the problem right now really stems from the page count and also just the general issues with interconnectivity and world building. Everything feels like they don't want to take the steps. They have the pieces. They have the pieces arranged to tell some really good stories, but it doesn't seem like they want to take those next steps to really continue to flesh things out. And I think that's sort of the issue that I have, at least with the existence of the C&D stories. See, at one point, it made sense why Sonic was 8 pages, it was the main story, and then there were 3 other Sega stories, right? It made sense. The problem is, Sega games were slowly falling out of relevance. Fortnight by fortnight, year by year, and they couldn't rely on other Sega games to fill the slots. So they had to fill it with Sonic stories. They were just like, we have to come up with something. But they didn't consider how that medium could be used in an interesting way. Outside of the Tails stuff, but again, different story.
Right. So I think with that being said, let's just continue along. Let's see what they can actually do here. Because maybe they can recover. Because issue 46 is our next story, with our first one done by Stringer and Corona. We open on a large group of Mobians arriving to the chemical plant, being told they're going to be rewarded for their service to Robotnik. And they were invited to Robotnik Con, a convention for the loyalist supporters of the Doctor.
What is it? So did the British were just like, dude, like, what if we just randomly had like a Robotnik convention, like the Star Trek conventions? They were like,
yeah, banger.
Fuck it, yeah. Yeah, sure. Great idea.
And of course, the building it's held in is like a cone-shaped head of Robotnik's head. Very good bit. The people get accosted by the SWAT bots to spend their life saving on autographed photos of Robotnik, and another complains about there not being much variety at the convention, like a panel about Badnik service held by Robotnik, and of course, a SWAT bot threatens them that they better enjoy their time. As we see in the special zone, Robotnik is preparing for his appearance, being draped in a royal cape by Grimer, hoping the people will appreciate the event. And back at the chemical plant, more people are being led inside the building. As it turns out, of course, it's a massive trap to roboticize everybody. Shocker. The SWAT bots outside are trying to corral everyone inside, but the line is moving just a bit too slow. We see a guy saying, oh, well, if you want me to move faster, I promise you'll regret it. And of course, it's being Sonic in disguise. Next to him, Tails and Porker revealing themselves, Sonic smashing SWAT bots, quipping that the guy should not have pushed him, but I was bored waiting in line. Tails points out more badniks are coming out from the building. Sonic just figures out the trap as a result. Porker, though, tries to dissuade everyone from going outside, but some jackasses just think, oh, what do you mean? This is part of the show, bro. Come on. It's all good.
That's I don't know about that one, Chief.
Sonic rushes in to stop production and tells everyone to clear the area and uses his speed to erode a nearby stone statue of Robotnik and lets it timber down to destroy the building. Production line is halted, although there are still some straggler Badniks he needs to finish off. As then, after all the mess is cleared, Robotnik and Grimer arrive, expected to be received by a new Badnik army, but they see the place trashed by none other than Sonic, even graffitiing the sign to say Sonic Con #1. And of course, the Freedom Fighters have ruined Robotnik's day, as Sonic says he was never one to follow convention. Great job, guys.
Great job, guys. Okay, sure, whatever.
Funny. No, that was actually pretty good, though, all things considered. A little one-shot story like that, perfectly fine.
Yeah, completely fine.
And now back to the C story with this Shorty dude, Stringer, Corona, and Burns once again. Shorty has now been fully converted into a Cybernik to doomed to obey Robotnik forever. Grimer throws the switch, Shorty can feel himself turning and does everything in his willpower to resist the brainwashing. But it's done now. The Cybernik will be the leader of the ultimate race of Badniks, as it replies, "Yes, Master," and orders the Cybernik to demonstrate its power, blasting a SWAT bot and turns it into ash. Though Robotnik figures it's a shame to waste a good trooper, it was an impressive demonstration, and with that, has the perfect mission in mind. As a test of loyalty, you will lead these Badniks to Emerald Hill, your former home, and destroy it. Take no prisoners. As it kind of more slyly says, "I obey, Master." Back there, we see some villagers despondent that so many people were kidnapped by Robotnik. They were lucky to escape. But in the sky, they see these Badniks start to swoop in, led by the Cybernik, thinking this time they're not going to be so lucky. Hard to believe that these Badniks used to be just like us, and they will be again, the Cybernik says, as they take fire, free the Mobians inside. Robotnik thought I was leading these Badniks, but the damage he did to the console and his own stubborn nature left his free will intact. He pretended to be under Robotnik's control, so he led the Badniks back home to free them. Breaking one Badnik actually was his friend Hopper. Surprised to hear Shorty's voice come out of that Badnik and says, "No time to celebrate. Robotnik's going to find out what happened here and visit very shortly." And we see now, Grimer reports to Robotnik, the Cybernik retained its free mind, to Robotnik's anger. He created the Cybernik, now he has to destroy it. Okay, you know what? That's interesting now. Now, things are starting to spice up, at least in this one instance.
Yeah, at least in this instance, it's like, okay, well, you're taking an idea of like a robot or like a Mobian being turned into a Badnik, and then it's like, oh, well, he retains his free will through unique circumstances. It's like, okay, well, there it goes.
Very
okay,
good.
Cool.
And it is very bunny adjacent to, again, compare it to Archie, but like it's an idea that like is unique enough to be like standing up on its own.
It's similar but different, so I think I can be like, yeah, no, it's different enough.
Oh yeah. So let's move on. Issue 47. Again, our first story coming from Kitching and Elson.
Welcome to the Sonic and Knuckles adaptation, which is going to be comprising the majority of the Sonic A stories. This is easily the best part of our issues this week. I think that they nail what they want to here. Although I do have some notes. Specifically, and they do revolve around the page count, but it's going to be more towards the end of the issue. So for right now, let's just take this in and enjoy.
So, we open Sonic and Tails en route to the floating island to investigate the Sandopolis zone. Sonic jumps off the tornado and tells Tails to stay behind. This job calls for speed. I don't need someone slowing me down. So he comes across some ruins in the Sandopolis. He remembers how Porker said this might be the right spot to view the launch base zone and its rebuilding of the Death Egg. If Robotnik finishes the repairs, everyone will be at his mercy. I can't let that happen. Then suddenly the ground crumbles underneath him and is ambushed by a Badnik under the sand. He's obviously a bit surprised, falling on his back, and is met by Knuckles, once again telling him, "You should not be on my island." "Ah, Knuckles, I missed your warm, cheery hospitality." And Knuckles tells him, "Look out for the sandworm. It hasn't gone too far." But Knuckles does figure, you gotta be here for good reason, and I would offer to help, but I know what you'd say. "I don't need any help," Sonic finishes, until the sandworm ambushes him again. Knuckles figures, yeah, sure, whatever you say, man. He jumps and scraps the Badnik, although Knuckles hops down to ask why he's here. I'm a little tired of people arriving to my home uninvited. Hey, if you didn't let Robotnik use the island to repair the Death Egg, I wouldn't be here. Well, actually, buddy, I'm here to handle that. I got delayed because of some comedians named the Marxial brothers. Sonic then warns him about the Death Egg until They hear a voice calling him from behind. The voice of this motherfucker once again, Captain Plunder. I can't believe a guy who really should be like a one-off joke character keeps reoccurring.
Yeah, he just... We'll have more to say about him relatively soon.
Yeah, Well, if I didn't know any better, I didn't think you were pleased to see me, old chum. And Knuckles asks Sonic, alright, how do you know about this guy? Why don't you just invite everybody to the floating island? It's only just, my home!
My guy is not happy about this. He is fucking mad. And frankly, I would be too.
What's this guy doing here? Of course, treasure. Of course it's for treasure. Professor, the map. And Plunder unveils a parchment saying that he's had it for years, but up until a few weeks ago, I thought the floating island was but a myth. Knuckles does try to tell him to shove off. I'm the ruler of the floating island. I don't care what you're up to, you have to leave now. Although Plunder literally pats him on the head, calls him cute. Professor, get on with it, as he walks up to a stone with some markings. And Sonic doesn't recognize this professor guy, but Plunder says, this gentleman is a new member of my crew, used to work at Metropolis University. Then a stone pillar suddenly pops out from under the sand. It looks like he's successful. Let's get this show on the road. They push a button up top, feels like an earthquake is happening right underneath them, until a small stone pops up right under Sonic, grows more and more and more and more, until, to Plunder's elation, he's found it, the lost pyramid of Sandopolis. So I do want to note here, this is a crazy interpretation of that one stage. First stage, you have the open desert, and then you get to the pyramid at the end. Very inspired. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I do. I actually really like this idea a lot, too. I think it's really cool that they're just kind of going like, okay, well, if we have to do a Sonic and Knuckles adaptation, we're going to try and work it naturally into the comics. So they're going act by act, literally. So we have Sandopolis Act 1, and next time we'll most likely be getting Sandopolis Act 2.
So on that note, let's see what's going on with the Cybernik here, Stringer, Corona, and Burns once again. Robotnik en route to Emerald Hill to take out this defective Badnik, as we see Cybernik with his friend Hopper, hoping to find a way to break Shorty out of the shell, but he says, no, I'm fused to this permanently. But I'm going to make Robotnik regret that big time. As, of course, Robotnik shells them. We'll see who has regret here. Cybernik flies up, tells Hopper get out of there, as he basically does a dogfight with Robotnik in the air, demands he hold still, but you shouldn't have made me so efficient. I'm this year's top-of-the-range Super Badnik turned good. And then he releases an arm cannon, direct hit on the Eggmobile. Face it, Robotnik, I'm your worst nightmare. The Badnik you should have never created. Actually kind of crazy. I'm kind of digging this.
Yeah, I'm kind of digging it too. This guy's just like, I have god powers now. Suck it, nerd.
Then Cybernik is tearing up the Eggmobile until Robotnik reveals his plan B, a remote that on command disables Badniks. Drops to the ground like a stone, and he's resisting as much as he can until Sonic arrives. I can't leave this place alone for 5 minutes without you turning up, huh, Robotnik? And slams against the Eggmobile. Cybernik, still struggling, but he's still surprised to see Sonic. It's an honor to meet you. I can imagine. But I can't stop right now. It's time to kick Robotnik. So Sonic fights Robotnik as Cybernik finds a circuit controller, snaps it. Right then, Robotnik just calls it quits. A warrior knows when to withdraw. As he little toots on away, Sonic just shouts, "Get out of here, loser." Then some time passes, the rest of the Freedom Fighters arrive, and Sonic, clearly impressed by the Cybernik, he offers him to join with them in the fight against Robotnik. And while Shorty is obviously flattered, he says no. I think it's best for me to fight Robotnik with my own methods. He turned me into a living machine. It makes it personal. And Sonic's just like, alright buddy, whatever you say. Hope you can live up to it. But now his friend Hopper then comes up to him saying, hey, this is your home. You can't just leave. But he says, no, I must, Hopper. I must use my power to fight for justice and freedom and stuff. From now on, call me Short Fuse the Cybernik. Cool? Or what? And don't feel sorry for me. Save that for Robotnik. As he just Superman flies off into the sky. So that's kind of a bookend to the opening act of this guy's story. I know he's going to be more of a reoccurring character, so I'm very impressed with this first outing.
Exactly, and this is sort of, again, I don't think that what I talked about really applies to this story, so to speak. It certainly applies to next story. Give it a second. But yeah, I mean, new character introduced. concept that's kind of unique. He's doing his own thing. Oh, well, maybe this will add to the world as a greater whole. So now we have another element in play.
On the other hand, this next story is a little less serious, let's put it. This is one we're just gonna need to observe, folks. This one, both the writing and the art were done by Nigel Kitching. So this takes place just before Plunder arrived at the floating island. Robotnik is in a luxury airship, throwing himself a birthday party. Robotnik toasts him and his fellow friends, one in the crowd saying that his chemical plant makes a fortune now that I don't have to pay my workers. Yes, my Bradniks do make excellent slave drivers. Intense. It's a little on the nose. But damn, Nigel Kitching.
Oh.
You know, this isn't the first time he's gone a little on the nose. I wonder if he has any opinions on Margaret Thatcher. That's all I'm going to say.
He absolutely does.
Anyway, Robotnik during the speech hears a chunk sound and looks out the window. The ship is under attack by the Sky Pirates, Captain Plunder leading the charge. They break in through the windows, his whole crew does, Plunder coming in right behind with Flitch by his side. And Flitch makes a comment about how him being a ghost makes the pirate life a lot more enjoyable. As Plunder comments, well, if I knew that, I would have shot you years ago. Damn, dude.
What the fuck?
Damn, dude. The crew then hold Robotnik hostage. Plunder explained that he knows that Robotnik has holding many a treasure, all stolen from the people of Mobius. Ah, what do you mean stolen? This is my taxes. I don't know how you know about it, but I will take you there, but it won't do you any good. Deeper inside the ship is a vault where Robotnik keeps these treasures, but there are only 2 keys. One at the destination, and one at my fortress. Ah, you smug customer. Still, I wager you've never been robbed by a ghost. Flitch, show him how it's done. And then he phases through the vault door. Robotnik is kind of surprised, but he says, it doesn't matter. He's not corporeal. He can't touch anything inside. But Plunder adds, well, Flitch, though, is one of those poultry... But we see inside, Flitch moves an emergency release lever from the inside, throws the vault door open. Poltergeist. I am a ghost that can move things around.
Oh, okay.
Robotnik panics as the crew begins to yoink his treasures. If any knave I see is slacking, you'll get a taste of the cat o' nine tails cross the back. But one of the crew warns Plunder there's about half a dozen badniks coming off the starboard bow, and tells them, get back to the ship. I'll handle the badniks. Meanwhile, though, on Plunder's ship, Filch is calling Sonic saying your information was dead on. You know, after the whole Chaos Emerald fiasco, Sonic says, you're lucky we're still helping you. By the way, where's the captain? And then the whole crew look around and kind of realize, oh shit, he's nowhere here. Oh shit, he's been captured by the badniks on Robotnik's ship. Shit. All right.
Okay. I guess that's our story.
Yeah, this is the first in a little bit of a segment about Plunder. Again, I'm still surprised we're still following this guy, but, you know, I'm not saying no at the very least, but all right, man.
All right.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Issue 48, folks. Kitching and Elsing, once again. Sandopolis Zone, Act 2. So Plunder is celebrating finding the lost Sandopolis Pyramid as Sonic sees something rising from the sand. Plunder, did your map talk about something like that? I don't know. It mentioned something about a guardian, but I paid it no heed. And thus, standing above them is the Sandopolis Golem. Heretics, you had no right to summon the sacred pyramid. All who break this ancient law will be cursed. And Sonic just looks at Plunder. Hey, are all pirates as stupid as you are? So Sonic has to stance up and goes in for the classic spin attack. And he's able to take out the Guardian one shot. Go on, Knuckles. You're impressed. You're admitted. Come on. But he tells Sonic, no man, look behind you. Dude, I'm way too cool to fall for the look behind you bit. But what was happening was that the Guardian was reforming and smashes Sonic into the stand. The Guardian declaring, I cannot be destroyed. So Knuckles gets its attention. I read about you in the sacred texts. You won't find me so easy to beat. Mainly because I'm not stupid to try to fight you. Why should I bother with quicksand all over the place? As Knuckles leads it right into a quicksand pit, and it sinks right in. As Knuckles just looks at Sonic saying, this is why, buddy, you gotta learn to use your head. Oh, okay. Well, if you're so smart, Knuckles, how come you let Plunder sneak into the pyramid? And, the boys have to follow behind them. Sonic asks Knuckles, you know, if you really are the master of the island, how come the giant attacked you? It was from an ancient time. It probably won't even know that the people who lived on this island were once, now long gone. But here's a voice up ahead of Plunder. Him and his crew had found what they were looking for. The lost tomb of Sandopolis, filled to the brim with gold and treasure, and tells Flitch, get to work, carry this gold. But I'm a ghost here. I can't really do nothing about that. Well, I'm a pirate. I'm supposed to steal stuff. As Sonic comes up and warns them, looking here, buddy. You don't want to make Knuckles here mad, right? Until suddenly, all the lights inside cut off the pyramid. As Knuckles says, well, yeah, the system's 1,000 years old. It's not exactly reliable, Pirates, unfortunately, run off their bag with the loot over their shoulders as Sonic shouts he can't be outrun from, but Knuckles holds on to him. Nuh-uh, just let him go. I didn't exactly tell you what the curse was and what happens when it gets dark. And then we see the pirates. Some creatures are starting to hazily form behind them and are now following them. As Flitch thinks, okay, well, actually, they might be ghosts. But, they're starting to get a little freaked out, scared pissless. As Plunder's like, Flitch, can you talk to these ghosts? Can you make friends with them? But he's saying, I don't know, Captain. I think these are the wrong sorts of ghosts, which I gotta point out, ghost racism. Very sad.
Damn, these British people were like, yeah, fuck ghosts. Ghost racism, now.
Damn. The pirates are able to escape at the last second, but they drop the loot behind. Even the professor unable to hold on to his bag. And they don't want to admit to the rest of the crew that they were chased out by ghosts, but Flitch thinks, let's stretch it out. I think we could say we were chased off by 100 evil spirits. And still inside the pyramid, Sonic and Knuckles find a pipeline, which Knuckles says if the seal is broken, punches it, sand will pour out from the inside. And Sonic figures that's going to make the pyramid sink and stay under the sand permanently, right? Uh-huh. Knuckles says this place is best for the treasures to be kept safe from people like Plunder. So it's like, oh yeah, I agree with you, man. But I don't know if you realize this, man, but we're still kind of inside the pyramid. But Knuckles says, don't worry about that, man. The ancient texts tell of a secret exit. Of course, you can't always rely on them, but it was right. There's a passage underneath a hidden door, and they're about to leave. As Sonic does wonder what exactly did become of Captain Plunder. And we end this bit on Plunder's ship flying away as Flitch tells the crew that they were ambushed by 200 spirits, each with 7 heads and blazing eyes, attacking from all sides.
So I want to say, adapting Sandopolis Zone Act 2, they did it pretty well.
Rousing success?
Knuckles opening up a back entrance for them so they can go into into Lava Reef. We'll see where that leads.
And now, folks, I'm very excited to say we've got another Tails story. Another Zone Runner story.
I hope you guys are ready for more lore.
So Isles writing, Corona doing the art, and we have a new artist, Brian Williamson, who's doing the colors. So this guy's another Fleetway internal, of course doing art for 2000 AD and Judge Dredd, but his best known work is actually on the Doctor Who comics and still works on them as a regular contributor.
How long has the Doctor Who comic been running for?
It's been running since at least the 4th Doctor, or maybe the 3rd. It's been running for a very long time. But anyway, we open, folks, in the Marble Garden Zone. Tails is deep in sleep as suddenly a drone prods him awake, Tails asking if Sonic was the one who did that. But the drone turns on a projector, being Sob, warning this Zone Runner that Nuts and Bolt wants revenge and the flock is in need of his work. And then this image of her suddenly explodes, which prompts Tails to just jump into the action. The drone has his trench coat and micropewter inside, so lets it take him back to the chemical plant zone. And as it's flying in, Tails sees a massive chemical cloud covering the whole zone and flies right into it. A little hard to breathe, but once inside, the place is covered in a blanket of snow. And the drone seems like it's about to crash into a snow wall, but it was actually going for an entrance hidden within the snow. And once he arrives in the destination, this was Sob's secret hideout, but the place has been trashed as if a bomb had been set off in here. But then suddenly, another sheep walks behind him, with a gun grafted to his right arm, Barrett Final Fantasy looking ass, Jesus Christ.
He will never be him.
No, he says, so you've come, Zone Runner. Tails recognizes this guy. Oh, you're Sulfuric. What are you doing here? I thought you were locked up. Where are Sob and the flock? They're dead. Every last one of them. Flock, but how? Oh, golly, you're still working for Robotnik, aren't ya? And that's a quick end, a quick little introduction to this story. Look, I'm just gonna laugh at this tail stuff, all right? We just laugh, okay?
Just me when I'm Tails and I'm thrown into wild and wacky situations for no reason.
And so, what's going on with Captain Plunder, folks? Kitchen doing the writing and art yet again. Plunder is fighting his way out from his holding of the SWAT bots until a voice says, "Cut, we've seen enough." And the scene now changes to a courtroom, the trial of Captain Plunder. The prosecution rests. We've taken a very drastic turn from the last story.
What is going on, bro? Like what? Like what are we doing? What are we doing here, bro? Like you gotta tell me, because honestly, I can't figure it out.
Funny joke. That's all I can say. Plunder's lawyer takes the stand, with his only argument being, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, does this face look like one of a brutal pirate to you?" As Plunder takes that to be a very unfunny joke. The defense rests, as Plunder is just like, "Whoa, hold on a second. This whole trial is a sham set up to get me hung," and jumps over the table to attack his lawyer. The judge orders the accused to refrain from his outbursts as the SWAT bot bailiff shoots him with a stun gun. And then we now see a camera crew talking. They edit that out before transmission, they say, and the judge decides to move on from sentencing. The director claps to take in. Judge begins. "You are found guilty for the crime of piracy. You will be sentenced to be taken from this place and to be hung by the neck until you are sorry." Dead. Oh yeah, dead, I meant that.
Okay.
Later, a news report is covering the trial, saying Plunder's final appeal has been denied. Where he's being held is known as the luxurious Highview. The emphasis is rehabilitation rather than punishment, and none of the inmates here have never reoffended. As some rando pops into the shot saying, "Yeah, because all the inmates have been hanged." Cut! And inside the so-called luxurious Highview, we see Plunder chained to the wall next to this dude who just looks like exactly like Felix the cat. Like, shading and all. This guy does not belong here. He is an interdimensional interloper.
What is Just keep going. 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 I'm gonna save the discussion of all of this once we are at the end.
An officer carrying a bucket asks if one of them were thirsty, and Felix here says, "I'm not Mr. Gullet, sir," and thus he throws the bucket right on top of Plunder's head and just walks off. As Felix says, "If you got some water, you must be well liked." Though Plunder notes whatever was splashed on him probably wasn't water. But Felix wonders, do you think there's a way out of the chains here? Even if we broke him off, there's no way out. But Felix says, no, there is a secret way out. Why didn't you say so, matey? And from his hook hand, a little claw pops out and starts to maneuver the chains off. It's the end of this issue. Kitchen, what are you cooking with this one? What are you doing? Are you just being funny, bro?
What is happening?
You having a laugh, mate? What is this?
Yeah, like what is this? Legitimately, I'm so confused. Anyways, I don't want to. We're gonna save it till we get to the end of that story before we really talk about just keep going.
Issue 49. Once again, Kitching and Elsing, our first story. And so, folks, Robotnik's moment had arrived. The repairs to the Death Egg are done. All that remains, according to Grimer, a source of infinite energy to power the Death Egg. Yes, he refers to the Master Emerald itself. Robotnik gives an order to an unseen badnik to retrieve it, and if Knuckles gets in your way, destroy him. We then move underground. Knuckles leading Sonic through the tunnel system under the island's surface, though a lot of dead ends according to Sonic. But they come across an underground active volcano right under the launch base, so they must be really close to the Death Egg now. And as they look up, much closer than they think, the Death Egg is quite literally right over their heads. And Knuckles is ready to make Robotnik pay for all this, as from the nose of the Death Egg, an army of egg robos ambush them. These are very different looking badniks from usual, as Robotnik is able to see directly out of the eyes of the badniks in the control room. Sonic's taking them out one by one like normal, but Knuckles thinks of a much more faster, efficient way. Sonic, of course, takes a little insult to the idea of something being faster than them, but what Knuckles does, it takes a large rock bowl containing lava, punches a hole in it, and the flowing lava drenches the egg robos. Alright, so that's done.
Okay, well, we've gone through Lava Reef Act 1. Well, I guess we're going into Lava Reef Act 2, or more specifically, Hidden Palace.
Yes, so according to Knuckles, the Hidden Palace Zone is where the royal family, used to rule from the floating island. They see a broken gateway, which inside is the Emerald Chamber, but the Master Emerald has gone missing. So Sonic gives Knuckles shit once again for losing something very important, but Knuckles like, dude, no, you don't understand. Without the Master Emerald, the floating island can't stay afloat for more than a few hours. But Sonic also sees the emeralds surrounding the altar having grown significantly bigger than he remembers. According to Knuckles, they were drained of most of their power when Sonic had them. So let's talk about the little lore bits that we've been introduced to so far, why don't we? The Master Emerald is real. We already have implications of Knuckles kind of misleading everybody around him, so no issue with it being introduced like this. We see the Chaos Emeralds in a bigger state, so we can kind of infer that these are the Super Emeralds, and Knuckles are implying that that's actually their natural state, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's the most tangible explanation for, like, why the Super Emeralds exist. So, I'm cool with it.
And of course, most importantly, the Echidna royal family used to rule from the Hidden Palace Zone. Echidna royal family, you say? Tell me more, Knuckles.
No. It's just a passing line. It's just a passing line. We're not going to get into Echidna lore. No more Echidna lore.
No. We've got more important. We have more pressing matters at hand.
Yes. I'm going to literally go clinically insane if the Echidna lore begins in this comic too.
So Sonic thinks Robotnik's got the Master Emerald. Now, what could he need it for? As we now see the Death Egg, Robotnik boasts about how, with the power of the Master Emerald, truly I am now unstoppable. I'll make the Emerald Hill folks suffer. I'll grind Sonic into dust. Though Grimer notes, the Emerald has not yet arrived, but Robotnik only sees that as but a minor detail. Even if Sonic stops the Bad Egg before it takes the Emerald, it makes no difference, because he'll find himself facing the one Badnik he can never hope to beat. Back at the Hidden Palace, Sonic sees a green glow coming from behind, and is truly shocked to see this sight. Atop the Master Emerald, a new model of Metalix the Metal Sonic charging itself with the Emerald's power. Alright, folks, now we're cooking. Now we're talking.
Yeah, now we're cooking. Alright. I hope you guys are excited, because we're going to Sky Sanctuary next time.
So now, while Sonic and Knuckles are having the fight of their life, what's Tails' silly little engagement doing? Isles, Corona, and Williamson, the creative team. So Tails has been cornered by Soul. He asks if this guy bombed the flock, but says no. That crazy robot Nuts and Bolt did it, and now he's tearing the zone apart looking for you. He doesn't care about anything else. All chemical plant systems is broken down. Didn't you see the chemical snow on the way in? But Tails points out, you worked for Nutson last time I came across the flock, but he says, look, I no longer work for him. Zone Runner, come with me. They're going to the deepest part of the zone. The main levels are uninhabitable because of the chemical plant. They made a city in the ruins. Soul then gives Tails a pair of shades. You're not exactly popular down here, as they pass a wanted poster with Tails' face on it. Unfortunately, though, one of the civilians still recognizes Tails as blaming him for Nutson destroying their homes. Get his ass! They turn a corner, Soul jumps into a sewer line and leads Tails into his hidden home. And now, Tailskin asks, why are you helping me? So then, Soul explains, back in the day, Sob and I used to lead the flock together. And I betrayed them by working with Nutson, thinking that maybe I could work with him directly to try to make the zone a little better. We didn't necessarily want to do this, but I honestly thought this was the only option. Unfortunately, I was forced to fight Sob, and, Nutson was a homicidal maniac. And then, because of that, Soul was in prison, but he made his escape when the zone was being ripped apart by Nutson last time. I was gonna go back to them, but my arrival was right when the explosion went off, and I was knocked out cold. Until, to their surprise, Sob arrives by kicking the door down. The reports of my death are greatly exaggerated.
Wow, okay.
So Tails and Soul, very surprised to see her. Sob saying she'll be relying on Tails to handle Nutson before he does any more damage. So Soul just asks, hey, how did you escape? As Tails just wants to talk this out, but unfortunately she has a gun to his face. She thought he was dead, so give me a reason why I shouldn't make sure you are this time. Damn, okay. This went from 0 to 100 instantly.
Yeah, what is this energy? Jesus Christ.
So, speaking of bizarre energy, alright, Nigel Kitching, what are you cooking again here? Flitch and the Sky Pirates arriving to the correctional facility to break out their captain, fighting their way through the guards. But inside, Plunder has broken free from his chains along with his neighbor, Felix the cat, but he introduces himself as Simpson the cat. and he kind of does the Hanna-Barbera bit where he takes off the top of his head like a top hat. Okay, so this is an eldritch creature that we've come across. This needs to be put down like a dog. I'm not sure if that's possible, but I think we should just kill him. We have to kill him with hammers.
I do not like this. I do not like this whatsoever. What is going on here?
So Simpson mentioned something about a secret tunnel that would lead us out of this dungeon, and he says, yeah. There is definitely a secret tunnel here, and it's in that wall right there, across the bars in front of them. All right, so what are we gonna do now, you flea-bitten, scum-sucking Moggy? I don't know. But the question mark that's drawn up next to him, he grabs it, picks the lock of their cell, and opens the door.
What is happening?
Kill him with hammers, please. So Plunder obviously says, all right, something here's not exactly right here, but this is not exactly how Captain Plunder is supposed to be breaking out of prison. We're gonna say we fought through dozens of guards. Got that? But then the guard that was torturing them finds them escaping and pulls out a board with nails on it, saying he gets to save the government the cost of a hanging. Of course, with that line of dialogue, proving the real villain of the story is a Thatcherite, of course. Kitchen, what are you on? Tell me.
You know what he's on. You know what he's on.
Plunder is more than willing to engage like this, as in the fight, Simpson takes some black paint, paints the floor under the guard, and creates an empty void. And the guard falls into it.
What do we say? What do we even say to this? Can we say anything to this? What is happening?
Scooby-Doo sound effects. What do you want from me?
Actually, though, what do you want from us here?
Legit, this is some Scoob and Shag bullshit, man.
Yo, the goat.
My goat. So Plunder just looks at this guy, mouth agape, is like, I don't know what's going on with this guy, but we fought through 20 guards. Got it? I would have said at least 25. But he points Plunder to the tunnel system, as this was once built by Billy Gulch. He spent 20 years digging it, and the day he was going to break out, they pardoned him. Poor guy never got to use it. Meanwhile, in the cover of night outside, the pirates find the other side of the tunnel, and with this, they say Plunder is as good as saved. So, Simpson the cat here. I feel... Okay, this is going to sound insane. I feel like if this was like a Smiling Friends episode, it'd be a total banger.
No, it would literally be the funniest shit in the world. Which, by the way, Smiling Friends recently came back. We didn't talk about it on the pre-show. Bro, that shit was incredible.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad. They still got it.
Nah, dude. The shit that killed me was the fact that, Zach's mic was peaking and they just didn't adjust it. They just kept it in.
No, it was great. And of course, I don't know if you heard about this, but I shared this in my Discord. I came across a video of, I guess, a podcast Zach did where he talked about that, Chris Chan was supposed to be in season 1 because of budget reasons. Not because of the bullshit, but because they went over budget.
What?
Yeah, apparently the grease puddle that was in that fast food episode and just doing, yeah, I'm a grease puddle. I could have done it. Well, did you? No, but I could have. That was supposed to be Chris Chan.
Would have been the most insane shit in the entire fucking world if that voice line came from Chris Chan, and then the allegations go.
Oh no. Look, listen, as far as Smiling Friends goes, I will be waited with bated breath for the inevitable Doug Walker cameo.
Listen, if Doug Walker gets into Smiling Friends, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. Just...
Doug Walker and James Rolfe, they have to be in the same scene.
Exactly.
Anyway, that was issue 49, and folks, it's the big one now. It's the big one. We've made it to another milestone issue 50 of Sonic the Comic. Man, oh man. What do we think, huh? So far it's been something. That's for sure. By issue 50, we're supposed to get everything, I think, click together, as we saw with Archie Sonic, to make a somewhat unfair comparison. But here, I think we've already shared our piece.
IDW also had one of the most insane issue 50s we've seen from Sonic in probably one of the most insane Sonic stories we've seen in a really long time wrap up there. To be perfectly honest,
I don't want to say it doesn't feel special, because they're trying to make it special. I mean, look. The Metallics is back. It's going to be, the final boss fight of the yeah. All right, I see you're trying, but All right, folks.
All right, let's just get into it.
Our first story, of course, Kitching and Nelson. Sonic and Knuckles, face to face with Metallic's Master Emerald in hand, and Sonic is surprised to see it, because you're supposed to be dead. But Metallic's takes the Emerald to a transporter, warps away, and dares the boys to follow it. And they follow the warp up into the Sky Sanctuary Zone, with Metallic's charging up on the Emerald. Charges right in between them, shouting how energy off the Emerald will make destroying them as easy as stepping on an ant. Sonic dodges, but Knuckles ends up taking the hit. Sonic sees that Knuckles was knocked out cold, with Metallic swearing revenge for the death of his brother. And Sonic is about to question this, but eats a blast to the face, with the Metallic saying that the Metallics he destroyed on the little planet was but one of an elite brotherhood of badniks. First little tease.
First drop that the Brotherhood is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting.
Sonic tries to hit it by circulating around it for disorientation, but ends up running into Metallic's fist and is thrown up in the air, boasting that its central processor is next gen. I am more than your equal. And Sonic does not contest to that. But Metallic sees his energy reserves at 15% and must go back to the Emerald for recharging. But Sonic just so happens to be flung in the direction of the Master Emerald and lands right on top, and he shouts, Metallic, you're not the only one that can get a buzz off this thing. And mid-transformation, he rushes into the Metallics and easily scraps it. The blue hedgehog is gone. You're now up against Supersonic. God fucking damn it. Issue 50, big milestone episode, bring back the Metallics, check. Got Supersonic involved, check.
Okay, I guess.
Back on the Death Egg, though, Grimer reports that the Metallics' contact has been lost, but Robotnik mutters he should have not let him battle the Hedgehog. I should have just made him bring me back the Master Emerald. Without it, the Death Egg will not be able to launch, but the Emerald just so happened to be placed on the teleport device, and Master Emerald in its correct placement slot. Knuckles wakes up at this moment and sees, basically right when he opens his eyes is when the Metallic's head launches over his own. And he sees Supersonic smashing Metallic's body and turns around. Knuckles, you're awake. You shouldn't have bothered, because now I'm going to put you to sleep permanently. And Supersonic is just beating the fuck out of Knuckles. And he's just too surprised to just fight back. He has no clue what the fuck is going on until Supersonic's eyes, clear up. And he just reverts back to normal. And now Sonic has, basically Knuckles, in his hands. And it's just oh, Knuckles, are you alright? What happened?
Me when I black out on Fent.
Hey, what happened here, man? I don't have a car anymore. It got scrapped and the orphanage is on fire. What happened?
It's a great question, man. Daigo Dojima was... Yo, listen, okay. Look, man, I haven't even played Yakuza 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or even 8. Right? But I gotta tell you, man, there is nothing funnier in the world than Daigo Dojima, posting about how this guy literally does nothing.
Oh, God. So, Sonic, he tries to explain himself that, Supersonic can't really control that, but Knuckles basically does no time for all that. Master Emerald's gone. And now, the Sky Sanctuary is falling apart. We gotta get back to the floating island, but they hear some noise booming like thunder. Sonic says, nah, that's no storm, but whatever it is, it's big and headed our way. Okay, end of the first story here. Okay. As far as milestone stories goes, it does quite literally check all the marks.
Yeah, but it also feels lacking, which is unfortunate. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to make a milestone issue, you should have just done every single fucking page in the comic dedicated to Sonic. Straight up, just the story. You could have done a really extensive fight sequence and you could have had some more Supersonic stuff. Yeah, it's weird. I also think it's weird that they didn't let the Metallics go super.
Yeah, that's a weird choice, isn't it? I don't know, but maybe there could be more. Who knows? Maybe we'll come back to this.
Maybe one day we'll come back to this. Maybe one.
So, the C story with Tails once again, Isles, Corona, and Williamson. Saab has Soul at gunpoint, and he says, the bomb was not my doing. I came back to rejoin the flock. I don't work for Nuts and Bolt anymore. So then Saab says, Tails, what is your input on this situation? You are quite a shrewd judge of character. I am? I believe him. And that alone is enough for her. Alright, you're back in my good graces. This then leads Sob to be asked how she escaped the bomb. So when she first sent the message to Tails, she and the flock were in front of a backdoor escape, and the force of the explosion threw her into the tunnel. They all escaped, and she programmed the drone to get Tails, and they sealed up the tunnel. Sob leads the way back to the surface, but Tails thinks he's not going to be able to have much help, but Soul affirms, no, you did good when we were being chased by the mob. But Sob explains that Nutson is on the surface, we're going to get you to him, you'll do your stuff. Tails figures like, no, look, all I can really do is run away or bury my head in the sand or just offer myself up as a target. As Soul says, must be a joke. Quite brave as you're going up against a psychopathic robot. They get to an elevator, as Sob adds that Nutson's bolt has gotten much more stronger since we've last seen him. He's built up an invulnerable body of living ice. And, Tails does try to pull the classic maneuver, I forgot something important, I'll see y'all later. But Soul takes again, funny joke. Elevator gets to the top, right in front of Nutson's palace made of ice. We won't have trouble reaching the throne room, we checked it out quite earlier. But Tails asks, alright, well what's our plan of attack then? But they say, what? What do you mean what plan? We're gonna improvise. Tails now being dragged through to the throne room as Nutson is just kind of waiting for them, seeing that Soul has betrayed them, much like a sheep to follow the flock. Sob and Soul back off to cover the door and let the Zone Runner do his stuff. Nutson just shoots up, his hand shifts into a blade, boasting how his ice body is now invincible and slices towards Tails. Sob and Soul try shooting him, but his body only chips away the surface of it. As he rushes to them, Tails tries to ambush them by disconnecting the head from the body, but it's hot to the touch, so that's a no. This leads Tails to be grabbed, total control of living ice, and asks the Zone Runner what his last words are. And his last words here are, you can just call me Tails, everybody else does. Okay.
Okay.
Going through the beats with this one.
Yeah. And I just keep going. Just keep going.
Last story with issue 50. Of course, still up with this insane situation Kitching's cooking up, okay. Plunder and Simpson make their way through the tunnel. Plunder is a bit too wide to fit well into the tunnel as Flitch is leading the crew to find Plunder. So he and Simpson reach the end to a sewer system. Now all they gotta do is find the right tunnel to get out. But it's pitch black, Plunder says, which gives Simpson an idea. The light bulb, which represents his idea, grabs it and illuminates the room. I hate it when he does things like that. So Plunder asks which tunnel do we go through, but Simpson doesn't really exactly know, and they start hearing voices down one of them. He tells Simpson, put out that light, and then he panics, doesn't know how to, and eats the light bulb. Can't do much now, as now light is just pouring out of his eyes like a flashlight, and panics, can't do anything to shut that off until Plunder just grabs him, punches him in the stomach, and breaks the light bulb, just shutting off the light that way. Thanks. Two now have to hide behind a wall. They can't see who it is moving in, but we can tell it's Flitch leading the crew into the dungeon. As they leave, Plunder and Simpson decide to take the tunnel out the way they came. That had to be the way through. As their escape was successful, Plunder becomes the big news story of the day, except for the Mob, with their headline being Sonic the Hedgehog ate my hamster. Okay.
What?
I mean, I know the Mob is supposed to be a parody of the Globe, which is, I guess, a classic British tabloid, so I guess, sure,
I guess.
So their escape was successful, and 2 days later, back at the Mystic Cave hideaway, Plunder is still with Simpson and the treasure, but his crew's nowhere to be found, until Flitch makes himself known. Just him, though. The rest of the crew was imprisoned for trying to break Plunder out. And Plunder doesn't take that lightly, and is empowered to rescue them, until Flitch says, yes, this way the treasure can be properly divided. That does remind Plunder, though. That crew, though, I don't know. They're kind of hopeless, you know. They never did really like them that much, now that I think on it. Come on, mates. It's time to find me a new crew. Planet Mobius hadn't heard the last of Captain Plunder. I do not want to see the Simpson guy again, for the love of God.
Okay, so this is the end of this story. I really want you guys to realize, why we talked about what we talked about. What purpose did that story have?
Other than introduce an eldritch being that seems to exist as a Hanna-Barbera character?
None. There's no purpose. What is going on here? It doesn't feel real.
Well, for what it's worth, this was much more of a comedic story in tone. We're not supposed to be taking this seriously for what it's worth.
But it's just it's all over the place.
It really is. I mean, Nigel Kitching also writes and does the art for another strip in Sonic the Comic called Decap Attack. This is basically the exact thing you get with that strip. So, all right, I guess. It's a lot. It was weird. It was very weird, very bizarre. But at least we're done with it.
Yeah, at least we're done with it.
Second to last issue of the day, issue 51. Kitching and Elsing, our first story. We see the Death Egg launching, causing the collapse of the Sky Sanctuary as a bonus. In the command room, Robotnik boasts how now nothing can truly stop him. Grimer checks all systems are green and running. You know, it's incredible, Grimer says. The entire power requirement of the Death Egg is supplied by 1 emerald. And as a bonus, without the emerald, the floating island will crash into Mobius. My revenge on the treacherous Knuckles will be complete. And Robotnik plans to take the Death Egg down to Emerald Hill Zone, and where it will be no more. I think I'll call it the completely and utterly destroyed zone. But on a side monitor, he sees Sonic and Knuckles running up a pillar. In a desperate move, Knuckles glides toward the Death Egg while carrying Sonic, and he's even holding on to his dreads like horse reins. Very funny little bit. Very funny, I like that. But on their path, Robotnik releases a bunch of egg robos to engage them. Sonic takes action, rapid attacking and bouncing off them, and uses the momentum to crash through a window. Without Knuckles, who plans to return to the floating island, he's got an idea. Oh boy, does he have a fucking idea. As Sonic starts to move about the Death Egg, he thinks how it's a shame Knuckles can't be on board with him. I got the feeling I might need him, though I would never admit to that. But he finds himself in this big room, ambushed by a badnik horde, came all the way here to surprise the good doctor, and you all ruin it. And he's dodging the spike balls. He gives him shit for having poor design. Robotnik really must have had an off day when designing you. What does he even call you anyway? They are the Death Egg security system, Spike Bonkers, which Sonic does not respond to kindly at all. But that doesn't matter. That's not important.
So, Knuckles has apparently returned to the floating island, where he sits in an ancient chamber and prepares to operate technology not used for eons. I only hope I've understood these texts correctly, he says, as he is now sitting in a pilot's seat. As the machine turns on, it works. Even after all these centuries, it works. Slowly at first, the floating island begins to move, then gradually begins to pick up speed as it moves towards the Death Egg. He's flying the fucking floating island, folks.
What in the goddamn... Why? How the fuck did I read Sonic the Comic and it gave me a fucking Gainax moment? What the fuck is this?
Why... Get in the island, Knuckles, or else Sonic will have to do it again. I mean, dude, this isn't even bad. It's just...
That is just like way out the realm of possibility. I didn't even think for a second this could be considered.
I guess we can just fly the floating island like a ship now for some reason.
And listen, folks, I'm going to say what we're all thinking. Incredibly based. Incredibly based.
I don't even think it's bad. I just think it's so absurd. Like, I can't even begin to form, like, true thoughts on this.
Well, anyway, as we put that on the back burner, this Tails situation, again, Isles, Corona, and Williamson. Tails has been pinned by Nutson, about to be slit by the throat, and says, man, I wish Sonic were here. He'd know what to do. And, of course, with Nutson, him saying the S word sets him off and starts to overheat his system, repeating Sonic's name one more time, and it turns out to be enough to quite literally melt his body. And Nutson's head falls off, turns on his wheels, driving away, once again swearing revenge on the Zone Runner. Fortunately, Tails is still stuck to the wall, but the ice body collapses and frees him. Nutson's last gambit is to destroy the weather controller for the chemical plant. You're now never going to get out of here. You'll become drowned and poisoned. But Soul and Sob are able to recover as Tails tries to warn them about Nutson's move, as we see him gloating and starting to drown in the chemical water. The castle begins to collapse around them, and he kind of accepts his fate, but Sob sees the weather controller is still reprogrammable, only if we had a microcomputer, which Tails, of course, offers his. Soul offers his condolences. Zone Runner, it's been an honor. As Tails just says, it was nice to meet you, too. Sob installs an instant freeze program and installs a stabilizer. Now with that, let's just get out of here. Weather clears up, as the flock from the underground begin to make their way up, thanking the Zone Runner for saving the zone and stopping a chemical flood from entering the lower levels. And Sob congratulates Tails for the efforts in defeating Nutson. Now we have a chance to truly live and start anew in peace. And though, again, Tails is trying to explain, well, Nutson, this kind of whole thing kind of just happened on its own. I don't really have nothing to do with much, but it doesn't matter. He just says, no, they're not going to believe. Well, fucking whatever. So Tails takes the drone he came on. The flock thank him for freeing them, and he just waves back, look after my coat and microcomputer for me, he says. And as day breaks, Tails is dropped off where he was found and plans to sleep off the long night. Just as right then and there, Sonic and Amy arrive at the same time, Sonic yelling at him to get up. But Tails is like, oh man, dude, you're not going to believe what just happened. But Sonic's like, up, save it. We got work to do, buddy. Tails only just sighs. Classic Tails bit. I don't know what to say.
It's a Tails story.
Give me more Tails lore. I'm ready for that.
I don't know if I'm ready for more Tails Knight Goblin lore.
Now, before we move on to the last story, we do have another story here to look into here. So Stringer wrote this and Gary Andrews, a new artist, contributed. Here's the thing though. This is his only contribution to the Sonic stories in Sonic the Comic, because the guy works more in animation, specifically for Disney, because he animated the DuckTales movie Treasure of the Lost Lamp, he animated episodes of Tailspin, and he directed a handful of episodes of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, just to name a few things he's worked on.
The Clubhouse?
The Clubhouse.
Cold Steel? Is that you?
No.
No, not yet. No. Just continue.
We open on Grimer's lab in the Death Egg to show Robotnik a little something. And Robotnik is quite amazed at this, but it is up to the task. And this creature in the shadows says its mission will be to infiltrate Sonic's outlaw group, gain their trust, learn their plans, and destroy them. And this thing looks a lot like a regular hedgehog, specifically how Sonic looked before he got his speedster powers. Important to note. We then move to the jungle zone where Sonic and Tails encounter SWAT bots transporting prisoners. They jump out from the bush to ambush them, but they can only take 2 of them on at a time. From the other side, Amy, Porker, and Johnny rush in full ambush. Sonic and Johnny scrap the Badniks, Tails frees the Mobian from their prison, and it's all over easy. A little too easy, Sonic thinks. Then the brown hedgehog that we saw earlier comes up to Sonic and says, Sonic, is that really you? Well, yeah, there can only be one cool hedgehog, buddy. He says, sure, but before you got that nice streamed image, you look like me. Okay, yeah, that's true, but who are you, pal? And he says, what? You don't remember me? I'm your brother, Tonic. This fucking, OC do not steal what is this?
Me when I come up with a random original the character do not steal.
So Amy then pulls Sonic aside and says, wow, Sonic, I didn't know you had a brother. Well, I didn't. I don't. This guy's a phony. And Tonic comes around, maybe you don't remember me. We were separated as infants, but now I'm back. He also heard about the freedom fighters. Please, let me join you. Johnny says, well, we kind of do need the help, but Sonic tells them all, relax. I don't buy any of this. We can't trust this guy. And then our boy Tonic is in tears, runs off. I know when I'm not wanted. And then Amy gives Sonic shit for being as insensitive as he is. And then separately, Tails decides to go chase after this guy to see if he's alright. But when Tails, kind of falling behind, sees Tonic is acting a little shifty. He's been hiding back in the bushes to spy on him, and sees Tonic call Robotnik. The mission is going perfectly. The fools will soon fall for my act. Which leads Tails to jump out to attack. Oh, you're working for Robotnik. You've seen too much, kid. As then Tonic's arm changes to grasp Tails' throat, backing him up into a tree. So, yep, the jig is up. No need to hide as Sonic's non-existent brother, and transforms into their true identity, Metamorphia, the shapeshifter. So this seems very basic, but where this goes, you will not believe.
Wow. We'll see.
Yeah, this is a little silly. But folks, let's finish off the night with our last issue today, Sonic the Comic number 52. And we begin our A story, Kitching and Elsing. Sonic has been brought to Robotnik, held prisoner by the horde of Badniks, with Robotnik showing what the Death Egg is capable of, and orders Grimer lock to the Emerald Hill Zone and power up the disintegrator array. The target is locked and the ray will fire in 10 seconds, and with those 10 seconds, Sonic moves in quick to attack, but the ray is ready. Sonic's still fighting off the Badniks surrounding him, and suddenly the Death Egg starts to shake. But according to Grimer, the Death Egg appears to be under attack. Robotnik calls this whole thing ridiculous. Nothing can pose a threat to the Death Egg. You might want to
You
look
might
at
wanna
this.
look at as they look outside, and we get a nice big image of the floating island powering up a shot to fire. It's so stupid.
Dude.
It's so fucking stupid. What is going on here, man?
Base department. I don't know. It's kind of sick. Like, in a dumb way. It's really...
No. Yeah, it's just like, what is happening? This is the last thing I'd expect from the comic. I'm not against it. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Sonic is looking out the window. Oh, wow. Knuckles had an idea. For once. Robotnik orders Grimer to turn the disintegrator guns onto the floating island and hits it directly, and Knuckles is able to feel it deep in the command center. While Knuckles hates to attack the Death Egg with Sonic on there, the floating island's the only hope for Mobius right about now. Unfortunately, without the Master Emerald, it's going to take some time to charge another attack. I just hope I get to live long enough to try. The island then eats another shot from the Death Egg as Robotnik gloats about how now it's finally all over. The floating island is finished, Knuckles is finished, Emerald Hill Zone is finished, you're all finished! But Sonic takes initiative, and Sonic knocks off the Master Emerald from its power siphon and is ready to make his escape now. While he's ambushed by some egg robos, Sonic throws the Master Emerald out the window and jumps with it. And when he's falling out, a 2-page spread of Knuckles charging up the final attack to cripple the Death Egg, but Sonic has no time to celebrate, because it's a long way down.
This is a 2-page spread, by the way. It looks really good.
It's a great shot, and I think it's a great place to end. The story's not done yet, but I think this is a nice fucking cliffhanger. What the fuck do you mean the floating island is a Gundam? What are you people on?
I can't believe this, man.
Oh my god. Now we have our C story now with Stringer and another new artist by the name of John Moore, although I will say, I think this has to be a pseudonym of some kind because this is his only credit on Sonic the Comic or really anything I could find, so...
I mean this very sincerely. This looks like Archie art at times.
Do you mean that lovingly or pejoratively?
Like a sort of lovingly. Do you know who it looks like, ironically enough? Fucking Art Mawhinney.
You know, I kind of thought the same thing. It does look a lot like his art.
It's so weird, but it looks like Art Mawhinney. It's the way that Knuckles is constructed and the way that, like, he grits his teeth and stuff like that. It's very reminiscent of him.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like what you mentioned before about how Knuckles' tattoo on his chest is a necklace in this can for some reason. This is where you can really see, oh yeah, it is just a necklace. I guess they all just took design notes from Richard Elson.
Pretty much, yeah. I guess they're going to keep it consistent.
Alright, you say so. Well, we see Short Fuse attacking some Badniks, another attempt of Robotnik trying to capture him, and follows a Badnik to the floating island to finish it off. And Knuckles is on the edge, seeing the Cybernik attack the Badnik, thinking them both as trespassers. And the Badnik is able to dodge the laser fire Cybernik is shooting, but Knuckles intercepts and scraps it to his surprise. Knuckles says, I don't want your Badnik kind on my island. But Cybernik says, no, I am an enemy of Robotnik. But Knuckles does not want to hear any more lies. You came here looking for trouble, and you found it. And takes a good whack on the Cybernik. Knuckles, though, is impressed. Most Badniks would be in a dozen pieces by now, but Short Fuse introduces himself. I'm not a normal Badnik, and I have a short temper, and fires his laser right under Knuckles' feet. The two kind of get into a quick little tussle, but Cybernik just is like, no, this is not worth it. I don't want to deal with this, and just goes back to the surface. As Knuckles shouts, you go back to your master Robotnik, and you tell him Knuckles is still undefeated. All the while, Short Fuse just looks back and just like, is this dude for fucking real? Jesus fucking Christ. All before he leaves, he does see some Badnik about to ambush Knuckles unknowingly, and calls out behind him and fires on all the Badniks. And Knuckles is surprised to see a Badnik attack other Badniks, but that does convince him that Cybernik is anti-Robotnik. Knuckles apologizes for his doubts. It is hard for me to trust outsiders, but Cybernik says, come with this as be a lesson. Judge someone by their actions, not their appearance. Knuckles responds by telling Short Fuse, you have quite the normal spirit. That's corny, but I guess I can live with that. And Cybernik leaves for the surface, thanking Knuckles for the workout, as Knuckles thinks while he is quite a powerful ally, if Robotnik figures out a way to control him, he'd become the deadliest force on Mobius. And that was like a total story. Boy, oh boy, I sure hope that last sentence isn't foreshadowing.
It feels like foreshadowing.
Our D story to finish off the night Stringer and Andrews. So in the forest, Amy is once again chastising Sonic for chasing his brother off, asking why he has to be so stubborn like this. But the whole time, Sonic is insisting, I do not have a brother. Amy thinks, but like, he looks so much like you, Sonic, which he rationalizes, well, yeah, the only way that could be is if he or she is a shapeshifter. And I only know one bad dude like that. Metamorphia. As now we see Tails about to get beaten to death with hammers, Sonic rushes in and pushes Metamorphia down. So what's the deal here? Robotnik having to order her to infiltrate the Freedom Fighters and gain their trust? Now it looks like I'll destroy you all at once. And then she morphs into a kind of a slime monster. Johnny can only like smack her down with his staff, with her returning fire by turning into slime and holding Johnny and Porker into her body. And Sonic does the classic maneuver of twisting her body in place and is able to revert back to her base form. She's surrounded as she swears, one day I'll get you all, as she stumbles down and falls with the waterfall. Whether she fell or slipped, either way, Sonic thinks that was an escape she had all planned out. But sometime later, Grimer has recovered Metamorphia, reporting the situation to Robotnik, saying that she took the form of a fish and swam to safety. She is quite resourceful, as you can see, but Robotnik takes this all to mean she failed. Grimer insists Robotnik is very hard to take out. You know this better than anyone, Doctor. But Robotnik says, how dare you compare your failures to my setbacks, you little... But Metamorphia steps in and takes all the blame. I just tried to succeed solely because Dr. Robotnik, I adore you. And Robotnik just laughs her words off. Your monster has quite a sense of humor, Grimer. Of course she adores me. Those who don't are doomed. Robotnik laughs as he walks away, and Metamorphia seems like genuinely hurt that he called her a monster. But Grimer just says, go back to your room. I'll transport you back to the Grim Zone as soon as we're done here. And in her room, she's looking at some posters of Robotnik, thinking one day Robotnik will adore her in the same way she does, and that will be the day when she destroys Sonic herself.
This is such a weird angle to take with this character. Okay?
I mean, I guess that's a crazy angle to take, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I guess, I don't know.
I'm just shrugging, man. Okay.
I mean, it's not like a shrug of like, whatever. It's just more like, okay, whatever you say. But yeah, that's all the comments we've got today. And like I said, things really are picking up now. The main Sonic stories, banger. What the fuck were you on where you said, no, we're making the floating island a Gundam? What are you on? That's insane. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. The C&D stories,
a little bit of a mixed bag, I think is the kindest way to say it.
The short fuse stuff was good. The Tails stuff,
standard.
The fucking plunder shit, no.
Look, listen, listen, Kitching, my man, please hear me out here. Never do that again. I don't want to see this Simpson guy ever again. He scares me. All right, he terrifies me. I don't need to see this thing again. But no, yeah, that's it for the comics today. And I mean, yeah, overall, pretty good standing. I think I'll tell you guys this much. We're obviously going to be finishing off the Sonic and Knuckles stuff. If you think that's crazy, oh man, things are really going to be picking up now. I'm genuinely excited for what we're going to do next. Because, let me see here. Ooh. Let's see, this was episode, 7? Yeah. So we've got, next time we're going to be reading issues 53 to 58 and the summer special of 1995. We got a little interesting stuff to look into.
All right. Well, I think we are good to go here. If you guys enjoyed the content today, you can always subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/SonicSpeed. Discount code alpha, as we've joked about many times. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, everywhere you can find podcasts imaginable. And yeah.
If you want to join in on the fun and see what's behind the paywall, we have a free 7-day trial across all our tiers. Like always, $2 a month, you get the episodes early, plus a bonus show where we've been reacting to the Sonic TV shows of the classic 90s. We have Sat AM completely watched through. We have a selection of Sonic Underground episodes. And by God, there is a good reason it is a selection and not the whole thing. And the last time we recorded, we did a special episode doing a Chaos Emerald arc of AOSTH. And that actually was a request from one of our patrons that we fulfilled. So, of course, being part of the Patreon, you can get a little tighter in the community and, throw some stuff our way easier.
I hope you guys are excited for this month because we're going to be completely destroying ourselves and watching, because we did it on a whim, but yeah, we're going to be watching some episodes of the Ruby Spears Mega Man cartoon, including the infamous lion.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it here, but I had like a little bit of a thought of that. It's like, oh, what if, we do the Lion Man episode plus the first episode? Instead of doing 3, we do 4 and do the best and worst. But looking through IMDb, what a shocker. The Lion Man is the worst episode, so there goes that. I should have expected that, honestly.
I mean, it's like incomprehensible. It literally doesn't make any sense. It's the most insane episode of any television show I've ever watched.
Yeah, we also do kind of like a dig through of like all the writers of each episode and their credits, and I'm going to be raking the writer of the Lion Man episode across the fucking seams. I am going bit for bit.
Yeah, we're just gonna break down every individual instance of I can't even say it. That shit is gonna be horrible. Anyways,
$5 a month, you get all that plus our pre-show. We always have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Drama Frogs, this one was a special one for you, let me tell ya.
Yeah, very special one. Fuck Zippo.
And $15 a month, all that, and a video version of the podcast. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for being part of the family. We'll see you guys next time for more. Dare I say, I'm going to say it. I'm calling it right here. It's going to be a little peek. It's going to be a little peek.